Almost every single day, I have a conversation with someone who is struggling to speak up for themselves in a clear and confident way with someone about something, whether it be their boss, a coworker, a parent, an adult child, a sibling, a friend. There's something coming up for them that they want to address, but don't know how. And so more often than not, they don't say anything, and they either let the problematic behavior go on, they let the boundary continue to be violated, they let themselves stay in situations that they are not comfortable with, which then ends up with them feeling overwhelmed, bitter, resentful, angry, trapped, powerless, helpless. This is an issue that more people seem to be struggling with today than ever before. I know for me personally, I spent the better part of my life struggling to speak up, struggling to know what to say or how to say it. And then if heaven forbid I did ever speak up for myself, I would stress and worry and obsess about what that person was thinking about me afterwards, what the consequences might be for me speaking up, and really second guessing the whole thing. So often it would almost feel less difficult to not say anything than to go through the mental drama that I would put myself through if I did. How you speak up for yourself or don't speak up for yourself as an adult is largely shaped by what you went through and what you learned in childhood, what was modeled for you, what you were taught, what you were told, how your parents handled communication or didn't handle it, what happened to you when you did speak up for yourself, when you did assert yourself, when you did express a want, a need, or a boundary. How were you treated? What happened? We're going to talk more about that in a minute here, but just to start getting the wheels turning around that and understanding that so much of how you are existing and engaging with life today is a result of things that you went through during your formative years. That's why they're called your formative years, because it's forming how and what and why you think and feel and act the way that you do now. In this talk, I want to help you become a better communicator, a more clear, confident, assertive, classy, and powerful communicator in a way that people will listen to and respect. And I'm going to teach you 5 steps to do that. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you are back again, it is always good to have you. If you could like the video, that would be amazing. Subscribe to the channel, then we can stay connected. And either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my membership community, the Shift Society, where heart-centered humans like you are taking this work to the next level, being guided, supported, and helped the whole way through. You can get more information about the Shift Society in the description below. I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And as I mentioned, these issues with communication or lack thereof being able to is holding so many of you back. And I know because I've been there. Spent so much of my life feeling kind of trapped inside of myself, not being able to assert my needs, not being able to speak up for myself, not even really being clear on what my needs are, coming from a fairly enmeshed and codependent family. That's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. But really feeling like there was so much going on inside and I didn't know what to do with it or how to do with it. So that is what I am going to help you with today. Let's get into this and let's talk about those 5 steps. The first one that I want to invite you to do, and I mentioned this a moment ago, but take this a little bit deeper. And the first step to becoming a better communicator is to reflect on what you learned in childhood. Take a minute and think about what the family dynamic was. What happened when you tried to speak up? What happened when you tried to communicate a want or a need or a preference or even an idea that was different than the people in charge. And sometimes those people in charge were parents, sometimes it was a teacher, sometimes it was another family member, sometimes it was an older sibling who kind of thought they were in charge and would either put you down or ridicule you or tell you that you were wrong, or maybe they would just ignore you altogether. Thinking about how was it received when you had something to say, especially something to say that was different than maybe what the expectation was or what the norm was. What happened when that happened? Sit with it and think about how you were responded to or not responded to, and think about how that has had an impact on you now. If you were punished or criticized or put down or ridiculed when you did speak up, when you did have a want or a need or a preference or an idea that was different than the norm, then you are going to most likely fear speaking up because there was that consequence. It felt terrible to say something because of how you were treated as a result. So really thinking about that, if you were ignored and your wants or needs or preferences or ideas were simply just disregarded and then as a consequence not met, then your brain is going to adapt to that and think, well, there's no point in saying anything because nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. And so you're dealing with this internal world of all these unmet needs or wants or preferences or boundaries and can't do anything about them because you have the thought that nothing is going to happen if you do. So why even bother? Step 2. Now that you have a deeper understanding that it's what you learned as a child that is getting in your way now, and realize that you are an adult now and you are allowed to have a voice and you are allowed to say something and you are allowed to have wants and needs and preferences and ideals and ideas and boundaries, and that you are allowed to communicate those. The next step is to get clear on what they are and where they are. If you have a want, a need, a preference, or a boundary that you need to set with someone, and I'm guessing right now, as soon as I say that, there's someone that's coming into your mind, there's a situation, a coworker, a parent, a friend, a colleague, a sibling, someone that you're like, I've got to say something about this and I haven't said anything. Now I understand why. Now I'm starting to understand that I can and that I'm allowed to, that I'm not that child kind of trapped in this situation at the whim of these other people. Now I have a space and a voice in my own life. Now's my time to get clear on what it is that I want to say and then even rehearse it beforehand. Getting really clear on what that one important thing is that's been hanging over your head, that's in the back of your mind. You're like, this has been so challenging and so frustrating and it keeps happening. Or maybe I just haven't dealt with it and it keeps nagging at me. I need to say something and I'm going to commit to saying something and having that conversation. But first, I want to get good and clear on what I want, what I think, and what I want to say that is clean, clear, and classy. Those are our 3 secrets to effective communication. And in the Shift Society, we do a lot of work on learning how to say things within those 3 parameters: clean, clear, and classy. And that is going to be your best bet for having your communication received and responded to in a way that is helpful, healthy, and productive, because you are approaching it in a helpful, healthy, and productive way. So rehearsing what that is and cleaning up your thoughts around it, really making sure that we're not going into blame or accusation or aggression, and just really being like, what do I need? What do I think? What do I feel? What do I want? If you need some help on learning how to speak clearly and confidently, then make sure you get my workshop, my masterclass on clean and clear and powerful communication. It's called Speak and Feel Heard. And that's going to go through way more than I can talk about in this short video. And it's going to give you step-by-steps. It's going to give you scripts. It's going to give you formulas for learning how to speak up in a clean, clear, classy, and confident way. So make sure that you grab that. What do I want to say? How do I want to say it? How do I want to address this? Rehearse it, and then go into that conversation with that in mind. Step 3, as we talked about in step 2, really making sure that we are keeping our emotions in check when we are having that conversation. I know it's not always easy, especially if we've been hanging on to things for a long time or something keeps happening. We're feeling angry, we're feeling frustrated, we're feeling resentful, we're feeling unseen, we're feeling taken advantage of, we're feeling unheard, we're feeling taken for granted, and all of those feelings are coming up in us. But if we lead with that emotion in these conversations when we are speaking up, we are going to come across more often than not aggressively and offensively. So what happens when we are coming across offensively, we are offending, and then the other person is going to get defensive or aggressive back, and it's just going to turn into a big explosive conflict that isn't going to go anywhere. Or if that person isn't a fighter when they're feeling threatened, they're a flighter, they're just going to shut down and ignore you and just really just kind of, write you off and not engage with you. And if you had that experience as a child where when you spoke up, you just got ignored or shut down, or the person just walked away and disregarded you altogether, then it's going to be kind of that re-distressing, maybe even re-traumatizing experience where you're like, see, this is what always happens to me. And it's going to solidify that story in your brain. So if you could take a step back, regulate your emotions, and really knowing that you can say anything and be fairly effective in that communication when you are coming from a place of a true desire to resolve the issue and bring harmony and connection in the relationship. Step 4. This is an important one because this is going to make it so that you're not just going to have one single formula for every type of conversation with every single person. Really taking a step back and understanding the nuance and the capacity of the person you are dealing with. So how you address something with your mother might be different than how you address something with your best friend. How you address something with your boss might be different than how you address something with your sister. Really taking into account, what is this person available for and not available for? Is this person typically open to conversation and being honest and non-reactive and working things through? If I'm doing my best to come into this situation being non-reactive and neutral and mature in how I'm addressing it, are they able to receive things and work things through? Which leads us to number 5. Understand and accept that there likely will be consequences to speaking up, and prepare for those consequences. So often we don't say anything because we don't want to disrupt anyone or upset anyone or mess with the system, or we don't want anyone to think anything negative about us. We don't want to create any disruption. But knowing that sometimes we have to maybe hurt someone in order to prevent us from harming them, in order to prevent the relationship from being harmed. So what happens is sometimes we speak up about something, we say something, someone doesn't really like it, doesn't feel good for them, they maybe have a reaction to it, but if we are speaking up again in that clear, kind, classy, and confident way, then we are cleaning up how we are communicating, which is going to give us the best chance of the conversation going well. But even if there are parts that they feel kind of niggly or wiggly or uncomfortable with of what we've said, they don't love it, there might be some temporary hurt there that can likely be worked out, and likely they will take a step back to be like, you know what, they're right. This is an issue. This is something that I can get on board with, something that I can modify, something that I can be open to, something I can be aware of and mindful of. They're more likely to do that, even though initially there might be some hurt feelings, versus you continuing to bottle it up, you continuing to swallow it, you continuing to not say anything and becoming bitter, resentful, angry, and then lashing out in either passive-aggressive or downright aggressive ways, which creates big overarching harm to the relationship that can be a lot more difficult to repair, if it is even possible to repair it. So knowing that sometimes we might need to cause a minor amount of hurt or disruption to prevent big overall harm or destruction in the relationship. Knowing that sometimes it takes people a minute to adapt and adjust to our voice, especially if you've spent your whole life not having one, and people being able to kind of do what they want or ask what they want from you, and you're always go along with it or okay with it, or say that you're okay with it, even though you're not, that you're okay with having more work piled on your desk by your boss, and you've never said anything that you're not, and you're not okay with it, and you're finding it stressful and overwhelming, and working evenings and weekends, that you haven't said anything about your coworker coming in and telling you all of their life story and everything that they have going on with their parent or their partner or their pet, and it's preventing you from being able to get your work done. If it's a parent that keeps asking you things or expecting things of you, if it's a sibling that's speaking to you in a certain way, if it's an adult child that keeps making demands on you, whatever it is that you're like, actually, I'm not okay with this and I'm going to say something about it. If they are used to you not saying anything and now you are, it might take them a minute to get used to that. They might be taken aback. They might be a little bit initially offended. They might not know what to do with it. It might even cause a little bit of distance in the relationship temporarily. But the hope is that if you are addressing it and dealing with it in a clear, kind, classy, and confident way, and you are committed to the relationship and working this out, then they will come around. And it will create a whole new, much more healthy dynamic in the relationship. Now let's go over those steps again. Step 1, reflect on what you learned in your childhood about communication in the first place. Step 2, before you address the issue, get clear on what you want to say, why you want to say it, and even rehearse it beforehand. Step 3, as you're getting ready to address the issue, clean up your thoughts and feelings about it so you can go into the conversation as clean, clear, and classy as possible. Step 4, understand the capacity of the person that you are dealing with and what they can handle or maybe not handle as far as communication goes, and adjust your communication accordingly. Step 5, accept that there will be consequences and even prepare for them, knowing that at least initially there will be some pushback to you changing how you are showing up, how you are communicating, how you are addressing and dealing with other people and your life in general. To thoroughly learn the tools, techniques, and strategies to become a clean, clear, confident, classy communicator, make sure you get my course, Speak and Feel Heard. It's in the description below. And let me know. What did you find helpful in this talk? What are you going to work on first? How are you feeling? Always good to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this one. And until next time, take good care of yourself. Take good care of those around you. Bye for now.